What's up, dude?
Oh, another day, another dollar. I'm gonna change it up for you.
Yeah, yeah, big change. I've been thinking like leading up to today, whatever. I mean, we haven't really talked on the phone a good bit, honestly, as of late. Um, I think you just get so tired of me after 2 hours of talking every weekend that you just you need a week to just recover. But how's the past few weeks? We haven't really talked. We had the guests on and stuff. How's life been? I know you said you've been running around like a chicken out of the head.
Yeah, it's been busy here, and a little bit of that added stress with the leave and stuff. It honestly more than normal, more than baseball stuff. But yeah, farming we kind of had a window there, especially to get all the corn planted. So um, three of us, my brother-in-law and my dad, were chugging away at or getting all the ground ready and whatnot to get the seed in the ground. And luckily we got all the corn in the ground. We're still working on beans, so there's still work yet to be done. But it's just whenever those times kick in, it's just like it's a lot because like you can't push it off till tomorrow. Like everything's got to be done now, and then I have
Now,
my
how
own
much does the
stuff.
weather play into that?
Oh, a lot.
Like, oh, it's supposed to rain at 4 o'clock. You know, I'm sure that plays a factor into it, right?
Yeah, and you try to like I try to ignore it, but like you'll see the clouds rolling. It's more of like a feel thing, to be honest, and that's kind of where my
Oh
weather
yeah,
weather
yeah.
weather insights come in. But like you're sitting there and you're in an open, not an open cab tractor. You're in a four window, like you're in an enclosed tractor, but there's you can see and feel kind of the weather change around you. So um, you're constantly
You
going
know,
back and forth in the field, so you have a pretty good understanding of kind of what's going on. Like you, I don't know, every hour you're probably in and out of the tractor, or even probably less than that, checking on something or something's not working right. So you'll feel the wind or you'll feel like the air pressure drop and things of that nature. So you'll be like, oh, like maybe I like, and you'll check your radar or check your phone. And but
hmm,
I call it blitzkrieg. Yeah, I mean it's go 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 until you can't go.
interesting. You'd make a great meteorologist because you can be wrong 100% of the time and still get paid, and still it's not your fault. So you can sit there and just tell the weather, and then it just doesn't happen. You're like, well, I felt it, and they're like, well, we can't say anything to you about it. No one can predict the weather, but
You think that's my calling is being a meteorologist because I can be wrong all the time and nobody can care?
honestly, I mean, you tell me a job that's wrong more consistent of the time, and they still get paid.
Well, I wouldn't say they're wrong. Like, it's hard to predict the weather, especially for mass
Yeah, it is.
areas. For mass areas.
I'm curious. Do you know this? Do you know if this is true? I mean, I was told a little while back that when on the weather app, whatever channel, and it says here, like Monmouth County, there's a 70% chance of rain, right? Does that mean that there's a 70% chance it's going to rain, or that there's a 70% of that area will experience rain?
I believe it's the 70% of the area because I've had conversations about this as well. And let me look. I'll look it up.
Because one of my buddies was telling me about this, and he's not the most intelligent person in the world. So I was like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, I don't know, man. I just saw it on TikTok. I'm like, all right. This was like 3 years ago. But he's a
Yeah,
farmer,
and
so
I
I feel
do
like you'd
think
know more.
I think it's the area thing. It says another great source, by the way, is AI. A 70% chance of rain indicates that there is a 7 in 10 likelihood that at some point within the forecast area will receive measurable precipitation. Let's get better. Let's go
Seven in
national.
ten
Let's no,
chance.
let's go to
So
the
it's seventy
National
percent.
Weather
It's gonna rain.
Service. Let's go to .gov. Let's trust the government.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
All right. The probability of precipitation forecast is one of the most least understood elements of the weather forecast. The probability of precipitation has the following features. The likelihood of occurrence of precipitation is stated as a percentage. A measurable amount is defined as a hundredth of an inch. The measurement of a liquid precipitation of the water equivalent of frozen. All right, here's your answer to your question. To summarize, the probability of precipitation is simply a statistical probability of a hundredth of an inch or more of precipitation at a given area in the given forecast area and the time period specified. Using a 40% probability of rain as an example, it does not mean that 40% of the area will be covered by precipitation at a given time in the given forecast area, or 2, that you will be seeing precipitation 40% of the time in the given forecast area for the given forecast time period.
It just means that it's a 40% chance it's going to rain.
So let's look at an example of what the probability does mean. If a forecast for a given county says there's a 40% chance of rain this afternoon, then there is a 40% chance of rain at any point in the county from noon till 6 p.m. local time. This point probability of precipitation is predetermined and arrived at by the forecaster by multiplying 2 factors. So yeah, it is literally just that there's a 40% chance of rain at any point in the county from noon to 6 p.m. Well, I guess specified time location.
Okay, so what we all always thought it was is exactly what it is.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I guess exactly. I don't. That's what I'm saying is like I think your best meteorologist is yourself. Because like you've been, there's that word again. I need to bring awareness to my word like. So every time I say it, I'm going to bring awareness to it today. So when like we're at the beach, and you feel the breeze shift from like a warm breeze to a cool breeze, and then you can see the dark clouds rolling in, or you can see there's a white wall of rain. If there's dark clouds and a white wall underneath it, to me that specifies rain. Those white streaks are rain. So I liked stormy weather, so I would go to the beach, and I thought they produced the best sunsets. So I would go to the beach during stormy weather, and you could watch different cells produce different rains, and you could watch them turn on and turn off. Because normally, when I was at Barefoot a lot, there would be a storm to my north, and it would move northwest, and you could just watch it rain, and you can watch it stop. It was kind of neat. Like I have like time lapses of it. It doesn't show it well, but like via iPhone camera. But I remember visually watching it. You can see it, and I knew if it was south coming at me, I was gonna get pounded. So it's like, hey, it's time to run. It's time to catch cover, or it's time to get drenched.
Yeah, I mean, when you see it though, and you see the rain in the distance coming down, you can see it. You know.
Correct.
It's easy to know if it's going to rain or not. I mean, I guess at that point, the question is like, which way are the clouds moving? Where it's like, is it going to come this way? Is it going to come away from me? But, you know, when you're having a plan to go for a picnic, for example, and it's beautiful out, and then within 3 hours, it starts raining after you're there and after you're all set up, let's say, as an example, how do you know? You'll never know. No one ever knows. I mean, I guess you have an idea. I guess the wise thing to do in that situation would be to look at the forecast, assuming that they're correct. And
well, say, let me cut you off. Let me cut you off.
Time frame, it may rain.
So you have about a 5 minute. To me, it's about a 5 minute window because a storm is always indicated by a cold front moving into a warm front. So you can.
But isn't it a storm though?
To produce rain, yeah. Like you'll have two fronts moving together. It doesn't have to necessarily be a storm, but two fronts have to move together. So you'll have a physical feeling of being like cold air will be pushed down on you, so you will feel the temperature get down. So if you're on a 3 hour picnic, you will at some point you will feel the air, and it's raining. It rains. You will feel the cold air hit you because it's two fronts colliding, a warm front and a cold front. And then the warm front actually condenses the air, and then the warm air goes up and it sends the water down. It's an air pressure thing. So you will either feel an air pressure difference or you will feel the cool breeze difference. And then approximately 5 minutes later, I'm obviously every storm or every rain cloud is different, but 5 to 20 minutes later there will be rain. And so like when those two things collide, that normally increases wind speed too, and that's how tornadoes are created. That's our like natural disasters, tornadoes.
How often do you see those out there?
I don't know. This year we've had like 3 in our area. There was one that touched down like 3 miles from our house, if that, maybe 5.
Now, are these tornadoes that would have ruined everything?
Not that I'm aware of. They didn't cause much damages, but it was confirmed on radar. And so, like my brother-in-law woke up, and said there was one near our farm. Now I haven't seen any damages from it. And then like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, there was one in Clayton, downtown St. Louis into North St. Louis, that caused a lot of damage.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I did see that.
And then there was one earlier in the season, I think around my birthday, March 14th ish, a little farther away, a little south, and on the Missouri side as well. So 3 in 4 months, 5 months, maybe even more than that.
Growing up over here, I don't know. It's one of those fears, man. Just a tornado. I don't know. You just don't see them often. You hear about them. You see like in the Wizard of Oz and blah blah blah, and you see these like destructive tornadoes, and you see them picking up cars, and you just assume that they're all terrible, right? And I was always terrified of them. I mean, I guess I still am. I wouldn't look at a tornado and not be scared. But I remember I was in Palm Beach, of all places, dude, in 2021 or 2. It was the off season. I was home, I believe, which doesn't make much sense because I don't think they wouldn't typically happen in the winter months. But I remember I was home. My mom showed me a video. But it was in the middle of the road, like in like the Palm Beach area. I remember, and picked up like some cars, and it was a real tornado. And I was so confused. I was like, "What the fuck? How is this possible?" Like, I don't know. I always assume, for whatever reason, I'm not sure, like atmospheric pressure and all these things that play a role in being more Midwest oriented rather than towards the coast. But man, I've always had a fear for them. Always.
So what is the natural?
And over by us is like hurricanes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hurricanes are what gets us. I mean, I understand them, not perfectly, but I understand the categories to them. I understand where the spots that are going to get crushed are, where you're going to be better. Like, it took me a little bit to realize that if a hurricane's hitting you and you're at the eye, you'd imagine you're at the heart of the storm, but typically the eye of the hurricane is the most safe place because that's where the winds are basically the winds are spreading outward, but the inside there it's almost like a vortex, I guess you could say. I don't know. And it's more compact. In the center, you're actually more safe because you're not getting the repercussions of all the winds that are forcing it outward. But I mean, I've experienced some pretty bad hurricanes. The worst of which being Hurricane Sandy. Probably remember back in 2012. I was a freshman in high school, and my grandma got like anywhere from around 4 to 8 feet of water. I know it's a big gap, but one of the two. She had to get her whole house redone. She lives around the lagoon, so she lived with us for 6-7 months. She had to get her whole house redone. Houses there's this strip called Maniloking, which basically is where the bay meets the ocean are basically like split by this one, like almost like the Keys, I guess you could say, to a certain extent, but not so much. It's not two bodies of water that big, but it's more the bay and just the ocean. And they met, and all the houses in the middle, like Oprah used to have a house there, and it's a very very wealthy area. The houses are on average probably $5-6 million, probably more. And I mean, dude, these houses just got obliterated, empty lots. If you look up Hurricane Sandy, one of like the staple pictures from that hurricane in general. And you don't have to type in New Jersey; it's just type in Hurricane Sandy. It's just one of the houses on the bay side basically just took off of its foundation and just right into the ocean, right into the bay. And it's about 40-50 feet just laying there, or not laying there, just hovering, I guess, or floating in the middle of the water. And it's terrifying. And even then, dude, it's crazy because like you'd have like three houses down from you would have got completely obliterated, right? But the water didn't meet you. Like it didn't get to where your house is. So some houses were just untouched. But all the water met, like it's just all about how it went. But long go not to go off topic, but like back in the day, apparently they wanted to make they did meet. There's a canal that split that area, and what they did was they filled in the canal so they can make one long strip of land instead of having like a gap, I guess, which put a bridge. Why wouldn't you just put a bridge? But they wanted to fill it in, and not a shocker that that area is what experienced the most flooding, because not only did water come from up top, it was like nature's going to do its thing. It had its path in the past hundreds of years ago, or even less than 100 years ago. It just rose up. So that area you could see like from aerial views, it just got crushed. That whole like it wasn't even that big of an area. I'd say like maybe 100 yards in width, maybe. But but yeah, hurricanes are our thing, and don't even get me started with tsunamis.
I would say
Those are
hurricane.
horrifying.
I would say hurricanes and tornadoes are the exact same thing. One's over land and the other one's over water.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. That's what they say. Sometimes I've even seen videos of when hurricanes hit the water or hit the land, water spouts start to shoot up, and it almost like looks like a mini tornado because it's water or whatever it is, but it like kind of goes up, but it doesn't. It's from the ground up, I think, rather than the ground from the sky down. Like the clouds down. But
I've always been
I don't
curious.
know.
I don't want to be in the path of a tornado, but I'm whenever we had that hurricane down in Fort Myers, I just wanted to watch it. Now I obviously it went right through Fort Myers, but I'm just curious on what it's
Dude, it got
like.
crushed.
I know.
It got crushed. When I signed with the Twins, dude, I remember it was one of the first 2 days I was there. I was there for that week when we first met. That week I was there. On the first days I had a rental car and I just was driving around the area, right? And I went down by the Fort Myers beach and I kind of stripped down instead of going down the highway. I took the beach route down all the way down. And by Bonita Beach was fine. Like Bonita, I don't know if it just didn't get hit as hard. Obviously Naples was perfectly fine, really. At least in terms of reconstruction, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, Fort Myers, it was a year after, like almost directly a year after, and it was identical. Like I remember this church. It was circular and had this like, it almost looked more like a giant hut rather than a church. Just wind blew through the foundation, so it's basically like you just see the pillars around it with no sheetrock, no nothing, no roof, or it was just a war zone, and the whole area was just. I was shocked because coming from an area that got hit really hard, I'm not going to say harder, I'm not sure. Let's say equal. Dude, within 2-3 months, the boardwalks were starting to get reconstructed. Things were in the mix. Forget a year later. A year later, the beaches were basically ready to be, ready to do their thing a year later. Because that's where, I mean, granted, New Jersey, that's where they make most of their money, especially the Jersey Shore. It's like a very summer town, summer area. So that's where they make the bulk of their money, especially a lot of those beach towns. So they had to. But I don't know, I was shocked because I knew how Jersey handled it. And I went there and it almost looked like the hurricane had just happened. But
They had a
from what I
lot of
understood, it was
cleanup.
pretty bad. Were
They
you
had a
there
lot.
during it?
Yeah, so I had an apartment there at the time. And obviously the twins sent me home or whatever. I guess I could have stayed. My mom wasn't going to let that happen anyway. So I got back there probably 3 to 4 weeks after the hurricane had just hit Fort Myers, and that whole road was closed. Like you couldn't get there. You couldn't get to Fort Myers Beach. And when they finally opened it up, I just kind of went. It was weeks later after they opened it up. I didn't go directly after it, but just the destruction was crazy, and everything that I remember being there was on like Lonnie Kai. That in Fort Myers was a beach was built up like it's a party spot, and just watching the evolution of cleanup and pickup was crazy. But just around my area, when I got down there, trees and limbs were still everywhere. But it took about a month for them to clean up like the livable areas, and you could still see the remnants of like the standing trees were all torn to shreds and stuff like that, and like your nature areas were kind of ugly. But as far as roads and stuff like that, it wasn't that bad. And my neighbors actually stayed through it, and they talked about it. They were out of power and water for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And where the Twins facility was exactly where they had their little help center, because that academy is technically hurricane proof. I
remember one of the times they had like big fire department meetings are held there.
Yeah, so I got a funny story about that. We were in spring training one year, and my buddy comes into our room, and he goes, "Dude, did you know these windows are hurricane proof?" And I was like, "Chris, like, what does that mean?" And he was like, "Dude, I think you could throw a baseball at them and they won't bust." And I literally have a video of my buddy. I have a video of my buddy, and I'm dying in the video laughing. And he hucks a baseball at the window, and they don't move.
He did not.
Bro. I promise you, Luca. It was one of the most funny things in like that area. Like this guy, I love Chris, but he was a wild card, and it was hilarious.
He actually threw it through it?
No, it did. He threw it to the window.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. It ricocheted?
Yeah, it came right back to him. I was dumbfounded, dude.
Those rooms aren't that big, though. What, did you just smack him right in the face?
I mean, he was so yeah, you walk into the room, he was like at the first bed, and then he threw it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I would say he threw it 35 to 50 miles an hour. He didn't like 90 mile an hour launch this thing at the window, but.
Well, I guess that makes sense because they're designed for like debris and this and that getting caught in the wind, So if you got 100 mile an hour winds and you got a rock coming at your window, I mean, it better not break.
But
those things are expensive.
Oh, I bet they are.
Oh my god, Tally's dad, he redid the entire house about a few months ago with all hurricane proof windows, and I want to say it was like $30,000.
I'm not surprised.
It's insane. It's insane. But yeah, we were out of power for a while. 2 weeks. We were cooking. My mom was cooking full meals on the barbecue. We have an electric stove, not a gas stove. Yeah, it was a crazy time. I remember my brother, dude, he and his friend would go to see, or how my grandma's house was, because she obviously evacuated. She came to my house. I'm about 25 minutes away from her, so I'm like 10 minutes away from the water. But where she is, she's a little more south, so obviously we didn't get any water damage. But dude, they went to go look at her house, and they started swimming to the house, and he had to go basically under the water to look at her front door. It's insane. That's how high the water was. So, granted, how it didn't level out the house at that level. It didn't stay at that, like that surge didn't stay that whole time. So she ended up getting, like I said, like anywhere from 4 to 8 feet. 8 seems on the higher side, but it's possible. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Maybe it's over your front door. That's might be 8 feet,
bro. Crazy. Yeah. Well, the surge definitely was over 8 feet. I think the surge, dude, was over like 15, more than that. Remember there were surges. I remember the hurricane when I was in the year after there was a supposed like pretty bad hurricane the year after the one you were talking about in Fort Myers, and ended up not being as bad. But I mean, dude, I remember they were saying storm surges. They have the zones, right? They have like the zones close to the water, like zone whatever. And St. Petersburg, I think, is like two or three zones that in. But the Big Bend in Florida, where it just gets crushed. I want to say, dude, they had like 25-foot surges.
Dude, there's a
Which is
video
like
from
it's
that.
basically like a tsunami.
Right. There's a video from that Lani Kai in Fort Myers where you can see Lani Kai, and also you can just see the water overtake it. It's at like the second story. The
I
video
don't know what
camera's
that
at the
is.
second story, and you can just see the water take over the camera
What's
when
Lani
the
Kai?
hurricane. It was like a hotel or a resort down there at Fort Myers Beach. If you- it
Did you
was
say
it
was
got
like it got destroyed?
it got leveled. It could be back, but it was like one of the most popular spots. Like it was a spring breaker's paradise. Like
Oh
it
shit!
was every
Really?
time
In
we were
Fort
down there.
Myers? I feel like spring break is
Every
more East
time we were
Coast.
down there. Yeah, every time we were down there, it was filled with spring breakers, especially during spring training. It was it's
It's
a
probably
party
a time
spot.
when it was actually alive.
It was it during
Like
spring
Fort
break
Myers during the
was.
summer was pretty shot.
I loved it.
During the summer, yeah, it was nice.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't live there though. I couldn't live there. I also spent too much time on the East Coast of Florida. I spent way too much time on the East Coast with with the Cardinals. And now being in Boca a good bit when I go to visit Tally and her family, or when I went to go visit Tally and her family. Now she's here. But I spent a lot of time there, and I love the East Coast, dude. I love it.
What
It's
what
so much
about it?
different than the West Coast. There's more stuff. Like there, first off, okay, yeah, there's a lot more people around, yada yada yada. But to a certain extent, Florida's always going to be, like the the snowbirds. They're always going to come up north during the winter or during the summer, and they're going to go down south during the winter. They're always going to do that. But Fort Myers is way more pronounced, and Fort Myers is a lot more retirement. It's just that area specifically. I remember it was just a lot. It was just more dead. Not like I'm the kind of person, obviously, you know me, like not like I'm looking to go out all the time, this and that. But it was just noticeably more. Just going to a mall, going to get something to eat. It was just more dead. And I was spoiled being in Palm Beach with the Cardinals. I mean, dude, they have the mall right behind where we were. Basically, is you know one of the most beautiful malls I've ever really been in, especially at least in America. Um, Obviously, it's not some of the luxury malls. Like the Mall of America is incredible. The one here actually, American Dream is crazy. But I mean, dude, it's a beautiful mall, and always life. The whole area is just there's always stuff going on, and around where the complex was cool because where it was different with the Twins, it was almost like its own area. Like the highway is kind of protected on the outside, and then they had it like it's like like a compound form, really, their own area, and
Literally.
it literally was. And with the Cardinals, it was in a place called oh my god, give me a second. Uh Holy shit. It's a community. Um Abacoa was the name of the place. Abacoa is like the community. So it was basically like it was technically Jupiter, but it had like a subsect inside of it, and it was Abacoa. It had its own downtown area, which was right next to the stadium. It had a little downtown, but big enough. And then once you kind of ventured out, it had all the neighborhoods and all the stuff, people walking around and people like going around with golf carts. It was like it was weird. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you had the main highway, but then you went into Abacoa, had its own golf course, and it was like a giant community that wasn't just like, like a gated community. It was like a giant version of that. And so whenever we went to the park, whenever we went, like when we were there, I lived there in 2022 when the whole apartment thing and when they started paying for our stuff, they put us in like the Sophia apartment complex was called. We walked to the stadium. That whole area, dude, I just got used to that. And Fort Myers is not like that. You don't walk anywhere in Fort Myers. You got to get a car, and it's just a completely different experience. You're further from the beach. I mean, where I was literally a 10 minute Uber from the beach, so Like from where we were in Fort Myers, dude, if we had to Uber to the beach, it was expensive. You wouldn't really
Yeah,
do that too often.
yeah. No, it
Um,
was. I
but
did that a lot, especially when I was younger.
oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I um, I just love the area, the East Coast, like the whole Palm Beach County area. And granted, yeah, it's expensive as shit, but I just love it over there. But I if I had to compare and contrast, I could definitely see myself being long term on the East Coast rather than West Coast. Um, so yeah, I don't know how we got into that, but they also don't
It's
get as hit as hard from hurricanes, from what I've understood. The West Coast gets crushed way more, I think.
yeah, it's you're in that Gulf,
Maybe
you're in
wrong.
warm water. Yeah.
Maybe wrong. But you're this is completely off topic. But before, when you were talking about AI, how it being a credible source, you're gonna laugh at this. So Tally and I, yeah. So Tally and I, we have like a lot of we eat very well, and more so like ingredient wise. We kind of watch what we eat. We don't really eat out a whole lot. We go on dates, but she's I'm very blessed in the sense that she'd rather have a date in where like we cook and have like a date like that rather than having to go out because she genuinely doesn't like eating the food out. She enjoys it, but she just knows subconsciously it's like I don't know what's in this. Like it's just she's kind of like a little OCD about it, just like myself. So perfect for each other. But so we have these things we love making, and granted we do a great job. We eat very very well. It's not like bland. If you can't, you're gonna be here, so you won't really know. I'll tell you what I'm not gonna tell you what we're eating. I'll tell you after you enjoy it. It's like, hey, that has actually like whatever, and you're gonna be like, what? Like, yeah,
Okay, Gordon Ramsay. I'll wait.
exactly. um, but anyway, so we have like this. We thought of this idea, right? Just more for fun, just make it exciting. Like create a menu. It's like the things we like, things we like. So I make these Mediterranean meatballs, like stuffed peppers, the like a normal, just like an Italian night. But I have like I make I make this bread, challah bread. So for Shabbat, she makes Shabbat on Sundays. For she's Jewish, so it's like their Sabbath, obviously. And so challah bread is one of the big staples for Jewish people in general, but especially Shabbat. And I made challah bread about 2 weeks ago. Um, the whole braided it, all this, and then I don't know. I thought about it, and I was like, oh, what's how many calories are in this? Because I knew what I put in it. It's really simple. It's just flour and stuff like that. And dude, for one slice was like 45 grams of carbs. The whole bread was like 2,000 calories. It's like, ew. I was like, I can't even think about it. So I decided to make it my own, and it's been great. But now we can make different things. Like we can do pizza with it. We can do pasta with it. We can do bread with it. We can do all these different things with it, right? So we have like a thing of like 14, 15 things, and we want to make a menu. So on ChatGPT yesterday, I'm on there, and I want to make like a nice little cute thing. Not like we're gonna post it on the fridge or anything, but just like a little thing. Just we can pick from 3, 4 of them during the week, and then we know mentally what we're gonna eat that week, and then we grocery shop accordingly. Yada yada yada. Okay, so I tell ChatGPT what I want. I sell it that I want it. I want it black and white themed. I want it like authentic, rustic looking. I want it cute, but like I want what I told you to put in it. Dude, it creates menus for me, and it didn't even put all the dishes. It just left out. Like I put like 16 things. It literally put like 10 of them on it. And so I sent it to Tally. I thought it was like nice looking, whatever. I don't know. It didn't even cross my mind that it would leave things out. So I sent it to her, and she's looking at it. She's like, "Oh, it's nice. It's just doesn't have Italian night. It doesn't have Shabbat. It doesn't have this." I'm like, "What?" So I look at it, and I got pissed. So you know how I am. I go to ChatGPT, and I was just like, I said, I was like, what? I don't understand why you would just leave things out. I was like, do what you're told. And I got all pissed off at it. I cursed at it too. I'm not gonna lie. And eventually we got something resembling what we wanted, but still, it's so hard to do, so hard to navigate this thing. Pisses me off.
I don't know if it's the free version or what. So we changed our logo, right?
Yeah.
So I was using technically two different chat GPTs, right? I created the one logo. We started from scratch. I created it from scratch on like a different, email address, I guess is what it's called. And that was the one that we both settled on. And so on Apple Podcasts, it has to be a 3000 by 3000 pixel. And the one that it produced on that we liked wasn't 3000, and so Apple wouldn't accept it. So I kept asking it to create the 3000 by 3000 dimension.
Say that again. It needed what?
It needs to be the dimensions need to be 3000 by 3000. The image it created was 1600 by 1600.
Okay.
Okay.
It needed double the size.
Right. Well, pixels. I don't know what a pixel is. I'm not that advanced. But anyway, so Apple wouldn't let me put it in there. So I could change the YouTube one and I could change the Spotify one, no problem. Easy as could be. Plugged it right in there. And I couldn't do the Apple one. So I kept asking ChatGPT on, let's say on ChatGPT 1, it wouldn't do it. So I was like, man, how do I get it to do what I want? So finally I copied I saved the image and I put it in my other ChatGPT and it spit it right out to me. And I was like, what? This doesn't make any sense.
It did it right?
It did it right. And it did exactly what I said. Like it was crazy. One of them was like very reluctant, wouldn't do it. And all of a sudden this other one was like, yeah, here. At first off, it was microscopic, and I was like, hey, can you make it the size of a podcast cover? Yeah, sure, here, bang. And it didn't take any time at all. It took, like, normally it's like loading. It takes like 10, 15 minutes. It was like, no, bang, split here. And I was like, this is nuts. And I don't understand.
Yeah, it says the processing image. A lot of people are using it, so it's like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. I was getting, like, it took me, so our two were changed, and the Apple one wasn't changed for like 2 weeks. I thought you were going to yell at me. And
I don't even see Apple. I don't even go on there.
It's okay. But I couldn't get it. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, it took me 2 weeks to try to come up with an idea. And yesterday I was sitting down. It actually happened yesterday. I sat down. I was like, okay, let me save the image and put it back in the other one and see what happens. And just by going from one version of the ChatGPT to the other, or like whatever they're called, desktop, like my Google has 3 different options. And I just went to a different one and it popped right up and it spit it right out. I was like, it honestly made my day. I was like,
dude, when you struggle with it, when you struggle with it over and over and over again, it's like, it's nice to have it just do what it's told.
But I'm going to circle back to your original question. You kind of asked me how I was doing and how life was. Honestly, like last week, leaving home is hitting me hard. There was a day last week I was struggling, and I still kind of am with like packing up, coming to terms with leaving home, leaving comfort, and just, I don't know. It's emotional for me currently, and I'm tied up in being at home, and farming's going on, and I know how stressful and how valuable it is here, and things of that nature. So it's getting to it's tearing me up mentally and emotionally. It's just leaving, and it's like a 2-year commitment. So it's not like ball where I know that I'll be back after the season. And I'm kind of like spreading my wings outside of ball and getting into a different life, and like, I think it's good for me. It's scary. I'm terrified, to be honest, of moving away again. So that's kind of where I've been the past couple weeks.
Terrified, you said?
Yeah. Like, I'm leaving, like spreading my wings, doing it all by myself once again. Like, I feel like when I was with ball, I had an identity, and right now I don't technically have an identity besides for like my spiritual identity with God, so to speak. And like, me and my sister had some deep chats about it, and it's just, what scares you, I have to do. It's challenging me, and it's just a figuring out process. So that's where I kind of am, like, personally right now, and completely transparent.
When you say the idea, like the identity part, I hear what you're saying because like change is always scary to a certain extent. But what do you mean? What do you mean by that? When you say like you feel like your identity, do you feel like your identity just always had the baseball? So now that you're not doing it, you don't really know what you bring to the table. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah.
Mm.
And I would just say I don't have any successes outside of that. So it's hard to lean on, well, I've done this in the past, so it'll be okay. Well, I've done the leaving, I've done the traveling in the past, and that's all been okay, but I haven't picked out my own place. I haven't stayed with something for 2 years that I know nothing about, currently outside of the studying. But
How has that been? Like reaching out to places and stuff, and like not being able to tour it or not being able to. Are you even having those conversations yet?
no, not yet. I'm gathering.
I mean, it's still early, honestly. Yeah, it's still pretty early.
Right. I'm just trying to gather places that I have interest in. And then gathering it. And if I was there I thought I was going to be in training for 2 or 3 months, right? And so I was going to, use the weekends coming down to you. Hey, can you mind if we go check out these two places on Saturday? Exactly. Or maybe I do it and then I meet you, whatever.
Well, you'll still have the weekends free, I think, but it's just it's gonna be a more expedited process. I mean, my training was 6 weeks, and I was in shadowing. Shadowing basically, I was doing the job. I was already living my place when I was shadowing. But training per se was only 6 weeks. But the weekends you have off, so I mean, that's why I just don't know what they're doing with the whole sending you home. Are you going to be here? That's why I was confused. They said you're doing the thing remotely. It's like, well, are you going to be here for that week you're doing remote? Because if so, then if you have your car, obviously you're not going to drive there and back. So
the way I understood it is that all the training was there in Long Island. That's the way I understood our conversations. So that's why I was gonna just travel up there and then have the ability to go figure out where I want to live and stuff like that.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Sanira might be I mean, Matt's the one that's making decisions, but Sanira is the one doing the class, so she would be someone good to reach out to, email, see what she says. Because I will say I heard two different things. I heard the class is gonna be a 2-week course with her. And then I heard Matt say it was going to be 3 weeks, and it was going to be 1 in, 1 out, 1 in. But nonetheless, like we're talking for apartments and stuff. I mean, this place, for example, we put it in about 2.5 weeks early. It's not too far in advance. They say you can't really start looking for places before like 2 months is like the furthest. Dude, some of the places I was looking at. I was gonna view it. I was gonna view it for like May 30th, May 28th, or something like that. I'm sorry, March 28th, March 27th, like that ballpark. 26th, 27th, 28th, and it's only 30 days in March. Not like that one that makes a difference, but still. And I would go and view it, and I was messaging the realtor or whatever, and I remember specifically she said, something about move-in day. I was like, yeah, it's a May 1st move-in, which is, a month before. And she said, oh, sorry, we can't. We have about 10 inquiries for April 1. I'm like, okay, these people are currently in a place. Their lease is most likely up, especially in this area. Granted, there are other people that are moving in. Let's say, yeah, possibly. But nonetheless, they don't know where they're living in 4 days. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're moving in somewhere, it doesn't mean like they just have a house that it's just always gonna be there. It's like they're moving out of somewhere to move in here, most likely, and they don't know where they're gonna be living in 4 days, 6 days. It's just, I don't know. That blew my mind. Up here, how it is, how real estate is, everything's very, very fast paced, and so things just get turned over very fast. But it is a kind of kick in the balls for. I remember how thrilled you were about hearing about Asbury. That would have been a cool experience for you. Cause that's honestly, you would have loved it. And not like you still can't go there, but living there is a different experience in and of itself. But driving here from Asbury, like being in the North region from Asbury, it would be over an hour driving one way each day for the most part. So
I'm good on that. I have experienced that
yeah,
here.
yeah. So I mean, like I said, West New York is the closest to the water you're gonna get, like in terms of that like affordability. Um, Hoboken is just so expensive. It's just I was fortunate last year. I had two roommates I was living with, so I paid $1,650 for a $5,100 apartment. So, um, I got blessed with that. But I mean, if I lived by myself, I don't know if I would have been able to live in Hoboken. It's just who's paying? Like this place right here is a one bed. It's $2,875.
Goodness.
Jeez. Um, but yeah, so and it's a nice area. West New York's nice. It's a nice little area. It's like I think 5 miles, not even from Hoboken. So get on your longboard, go right down right down the like the Hudson, and you'll be here literally on your longboard. You'll probably be here in 10 minutes.
On 5 miles?
Not even,
Maybe.
not even five
Oh.
miles. I think I'll tell you right now. I
No, it's
think
okay.
it's less than four actually. I'm curious
I
actually.
was gonna send you a few places I was interested in just to see if you've seen them or whatnot, but it's irrelevant
West New
right
York
now.
is 3.4 miles from me. 3.4 miles.
I gotta get a new longboard. Did I tell you what happened to my longboard?
No, you get speed wobbles too much.
No, so I was longboarding to the field in York. It was a beautiful day, and I left
This is a
early.
while ago.
Yeah, this is a while ago, and I left early. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna go explore a little bit. I'm gonna go back to my old ways and just find something new. So I make this right turn on this pretty steep decline. I didn't realize like how steep it was until I was probably about halfway down and I was picking up speed. And by no means am I an expert longboarder on hills. Like Florida was flat and there was a lot of pedaling and there was a couple of hills, but if you had a hill, you had a long flat stretch. And so I was picking up speed and there's cars on my right. And then the I was like I was on a traffic lane. I was in the right lane of traffic. So there's cars parked on the street and I'm coming up to a stoplight and it was green, it was green, it was green. I was like, oh, maybe I'll make it through it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make it through it. It turns yellow. I'm like, I need to stop. Like I need to slow down. And I'm like, I don't how. Like I don't
How
I
do you do
really
that?
you turn and you pretty much do it like a snowboard and you skid. Well, like I've honestly I've never successfully done that. So like I'm making these big turns and all of a sudden this car makes a right turn. So now my space gets really narrow. And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna make it. Like I'm not stopping. Like I don't know where to go. And like I'm coming up to the stoplight. So I just hopped off my board. Like I slowed down enough to hop off my board and I was like, man, like I hope my board just makes it through the intersection. So I hop off my board and my board just goes, man. I was like, damn. So this all of a sudden this like transit bus
Wait,
goes and it
how
misses.
fast were you actually going?
I mean, I was
Like
going
when you jumped off
downhill.
of it. Like, did
Oh,
you land on your feet or did you fall down?
yeah. I landed on my feet and I was in like a 3/4 sprint.
Hmm. So you're going like 10, 15 miles an hour probably.
Yeah, sure. I don't really know,
Kind of
but yeah.
fast.
I mean, to me, there was wind in my face, so I was moving. And so it misses the front two tires and I was like, dude, come on, like we're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm just like I come to a stop at where people crosswalk. And all of a sudden it gets past the second tire of the right duals and then all of a sudden I hear and I'm like, that's my board, man. And so the bus ran over my board and it broke off the front axle. It ran
Are you
right
looking at it right now or something?
yeah. yeah. I actually screwed it back on, but it doesn't like the whole front part of my board where like the axle normally went like snapped off. I actually took like screws and screwed it back on, but it doesn't ride like a longboard anymore. It rides like a I don't know. like a cardboard
Two by
box.
four.
Yeah. So yeah, so I picked up. Somebody stopped. The next car stopped and let me go pick up my board and my pieces. So I threw the one piece away because it was shattered off the board. And I took my axle, picked it up off the ground, and I walked the rest of the way to the locker room. So instead of having 15 to 30 minutes to explore York, I had to walk to the field.
Mm.
And so then that longboard was shattered.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was so sad.
That's scary. I mean,
I was so lucky to be alive. I felt like it was either me or the board.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know where to go.
Imagine if you were going. Imagine it was a hill. Imagine a hill. Because here in Hoboken, I'm actually thinking of this one specific spot. It's called the Highlands, right? And it's Jersey City. So basically, Jersey City engulfs Hoboken. And there's like a few ways to get into Hoboken. There's not many. That's why there's always traffic. There's like 2 or 3 ways to get to Hoboken outside of Hoboken. And one of the ways is this highway really that they made. And it's basically it's a bridge kind of, but it's like it doesn't really connect anything. It just connects the bottom to the top, And basically you can imagine it's like you go from a mountain up top. It's probably like up top is probably like over 75 to 100 feet high, like the cliff, you would say. And it takes you to ground level at Hoboken, but at the bottom of it is a stop sign. Or not stop sign, a traffic signal. So if you're going down that on a longboard,
oh, you're moving.
It takes you right into the to the stoplight.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to stop, you're literally, I would say you're probably at around a 30%, a 30-degree angle, 25 to 30%, 30 degrees the whole way down, and then it evens out. I mean, dude, there's no jumping off of that. You jump off of that, you're gonna start rolling down the hill, and you're gonna go to the hospital.
Yeah, correct.
So that's what I'm thinking. It's like that's terrifying.
There was 2 spots in Fort Myers. If I was going to Fort Myers downtown, there was an overpass, and I'll tell you what, going down, it was clear as day. Like I couldn't, like there was a stoplight down at the bottom, but there was never any cars there ever. So, dude, I would go down this, and I was probably 25, 30 miles an hour on this longboard. Easy. Easy 25, 30 miles an hour. For, I don't know, 45 seconds to a minute and a half. Like, it was thrilling. And then there was a place in Naples. I got my first speed wobbles. Again, another overpass because Florida's flat. But I parked far away from the beach that I was going to go to. I was like, I want to ride my longboard, and then I want to go to the beach, hop in the water, and ride my longboard back. And so I did that, and I got the speed wobbles, and it was a place I'd never been, so I didn't really know the area all that well. And again, like I get down, and the board to me is doing this, or my legs are doing this, one of the two. And I'm like, you can't jump off. I can't run that fast. Like if you jump off, you have to be able to run that fast. And I was like, man, this is terrifying. So yeah, there was some times where I would look down hills and I'm like, dude, like I don't know, man.
You're literally a slave. You have to surrender to whatever is going to happen.
Right.
You can't escape it. There's really nowhere you can go.
Correct. Your feet are attached to that board unless you want scars all over your body. Yeah.
Literally.
So, and being new to it and being 25 years of old in the middle of a professional baseball season, I was terrified.
Yeah,
like I was like, yo, I can't go break a wrist and walk into the training room and be like, hey, like, what were you doing? Like, how do you break a wrist?
Dude, you want to laugh? Actually, this is hysterical. So I go on my college official visit, right? And I show up, and the kid that I was paired with, he's walking funny. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with this kid? Right? And he's living in the dorms, whatever, he's a freshman. And I'm like, after 20, 30 minutes, we're walking around or something. And he's like, every step he has an issue. It's not like, he's favoring one side. It's every step. And so I'm like, Cole, what the fuck's wrong with you? He was like, I rolled both of my ankles playing pickup basketball. I was like, okay. First off, don't you stop after one. And second off, if it's two, what did you come down from getting a rebound with both ankles internally rotated and just fucking snap them? Like, what? How does that happen? He's like, yeah, I rolled them both. And he's like, best part is I have a bullpen in 2 days. And I didn't tell anybody. I was like, holy shit. Dude. I was like, yo, what are you doing? He was a freshman, so he was scared. Rightfully so. It's like, you're a freshman, they're coming off of a pretty good, I mean, not great year, but, you got to make a good impression nonetheless. And, UNC's, they're always full of talent. So one gets dropped off, the next one, gets their opportunity. So he didn't want to say anything his first or second week there. And, dude, I mean, you can't make it up.
No, you can't. I've been there and I've done that 3 times.
Yeah, but
not both never both of them. Never both of them.
Bro, at the same time, this man's walking around with 2 rolled ankles. I'm like, what are you doing? It doesn't make sense. I thought about it for so long how that happens. Like how it gets to that point.
That's called unathletic.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean the kid threw like 98. So he had to have some type of athleticism in him.
Yeah, I mean, I just
he moment had the craziest hit mobility I've ever seen.
There it is.
Hit mobility, he had the most insane hit mobility I'd ever seen. So much so that he had to get hip surgery at like 28. He was with the Cardinals actually. He signed with the Cardinals afterwards. He retired early.
I'm working on my golf game right now, and the golf swing is the exact same as a baseball throw with the hips.
It's the exact same.
It's nuts.
The only thing that's different is that after swing, where you want to lead leg block with baseball to keep your weight basically back. With a golf swing, you pop your hips and you kind of rotate up over your left hip. If you're a righty, so you're right. You kind of like you do this. You kind of pop up a little bit.
But it's still a leg block.
Yes,
because your front leg is extending.
But that's what pops you up. You pop yourself up because of the leg block. Because there's nowhere to go.
Different.
You're narrow.
Yeah.
It's identical to a baseball swing to a certain extent, other than that aspect right there.
Yeah,
I've seen some things where you have a guy like a baseball swing and a golfer, and you cut off the upper body, and it's just the hips down, and you got to really struggle to see
figure out who's who.
Yeah. It's interesting though because
it bothers me so much
that they say they're the 2 hardest things in all sports to do. To a certain extent, they say hitting a baseball is the hardest. I believe that. You have a golfer that says it's the opposite, but the golf ball doesn't move. That's my argument. Essentially, take wind and everything out of the consideration. If you have a perfect swing every time, it's going to happen because the ball's not moving. You have a perfect swing in baseball all the time, the ball's moving. So you can manipulate the ball to a perfect swing. It's not going to create contact if you don't know what pitch. If your perception's off. But anyways, the 2 hardest things to do in all sports, they say, are nearly identical in biomechanics.
Hip mobility.
Yeah. And
our hip mechanics. Go ahead.
The most biomechanically complex movement in all of athletics is? You know what that is? The most biomechanical complex movement.
Probably throwing.
Pitching.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say it's one of the hardest things to do in all sports in terms of biomechanics because of all the moving parts. There's so many different planes you're getting on. You're working on a linear plane, but you're also having to be rotational. And not only that, then you have to work your what's the other plane? The transverse plane, I believe it is. Transverse. Yeah, transverse is up and top. So basically your bottom is doing one thing, your top is doing another, right? And then you also have to have the whole entire idea of rotation, but in a given space. You don't have a whole lot of time to do it, right? A javelin, you can run up, you can run into it, right? But you're throwing, but you still a lot of the momentum, the rotation aspect, all that stuff comes from a lot of the momentum you've created from running those 30, 40 feet, however far it is. Baseball is just, you're there.
Well, what bothers me is I wish I would have been. Why didn't I pick up golf 7 years ago and learn more about my hips? Like the crossover learning is incredible. What you can learn in crossover sports is nuts.
Yeah, that's why, dude. That's why it's insane now. Their kids are specializing their sport at 10 years old.
Why?
It's absolutely insane, dude. You get kids that now you have coaches. I mean, I'm older, like to a certain extent, versus the kids nowadays. Yeah, But when I was a kid, I was playing ice hockey, and not to toot my own horn, but I was very good. I don't know. I was always good on skates. My balance, I'm not sure what it is. I was always good on skates. So as a 10 or not even 8 or 9 year old, the coaches saw that and they were like, all right, this kid's big as fuck, and he's pretty agile on skates. So like those two things, like we can teach him the hockey, like the skills, whatever. But he has that. So they were like kind of recruiting me at 8 years old, 9 years old to play hockey. And dude, one of the first conversations we had, they lost me. They said, yeah, you're going to have to quit baseball. You're going to stop basketball. This is a full year sport. And my dad was like, what? He was a coach in the NBA. So he was like, he found it more funny than anything else. I mean, he didn't even fancied it. And I was just like, I can't play baseball. And he was like, no. And he was like sincere. I was like, okay, I don't want to play. And I just like walked away. And he was like, no, like, it was just that simple. But kids are doing it now. But the thing is, though, who's doing this? Who's making decisions? Parents, obviously. But like, well, I think California, dude, they have the winter leagues with baseball now. They have summer leagues for baseball. They have the school season. I mean, California and Florida and stuff, you can specialize in baseball all year round.
But like, look at where all your top draft picks are coming from in baseball. Like, dude, how many guys from California did you play with? I think 70% of the Twins roster from big leagues down is either Dominican baseball all year round or California. Dude, I feel like the rookie ball team I played
you could argue that.
Everybody was like, I'm from California. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I understand. Like, I get you're playing high level ball out there, but what about the guys like me that are playing 3 sports at a small school that aren't technically mature in their sport? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm learning so much more about competing rather than just about baseball. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I got a little glimpse at what like scouts their mindset with things. My junior summer with area code, it's held in California, whatever, but it's regions. So like they basically, area code.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. So it's basically like the scouting, MLB. They basically pick these teams for regions. So you have like Northeast, you have like the Ohio Valley, I think is one. California, like they have NorCal and SoCal, like 2 separate teams. That's how big it is. They have the Texas area, Southeast, Florida, and this and that whole area. So anyways, they split into regions, and then they have these teams go and compete in front of God knows how many scouts the MLB sends the year before your draft eligible, your high school and your senior year of high school. And one thing I was told was that this is like, just having a little conversation like they told us this during the whole thing, but that the scouts were heavy looking at the Yankees were the Northeast team, shocker. And they were heavy scouting the pitchers for the Northeast, the Yankees team. And, I thought about it. I was like, it's interesting. But then and then they said, because you guys are the most fresh. Because you guys have to stop throwing in the winter. And if you guys are still throwing in the winter, which you probably aren't, even if you are, you're throwing indoors, you're just playing around. You're not actually competing, because what are you going to do? Throw live bullpens all winter indoors? Like, you could, but no one did. No one does. Now maybe they probably do, yeah, because they're fucking idiots. All these coaches now are like, selling these parents on these programs full year that are going to get them full rides to college. And, these parents are just like, I don't know. It's just crazy now what they do. But that's what they were saying. That
I think like,
at least from the Northeast, they have to rest.
And just like you're saying, the only people that benefit from playing all year round are the hitters.
100%. That's it.
Like, if you're a pitcher and
device is not registered. For help.
to me, if you were to throw all year round, you're asking for injury. And especially when you're young, like what is the harm in playing basketball when it's cold outside, or what is the harm in playing golf? You
It's the
know,
best thing you could do.
I think I agree. Like develop all ability to be an all-around athlete, and then when you find your passion of what you want to do, go full bore for it. When
Exactly.
you're, you know,
Exactly. But it
I
should be
don't
the
know.
player's decision, you know?
Correct. Right.
But then you could get into the idea, it's like, well, maybe it's a player's decision at 10 years old. It's like, well, they're not smart enough, or they don't have enough knowledge to make that decision at that age. And so that's when it's the parent's responsibility to force them into other opportunities. And honestly, like, a lot of the parents do it, but like, I feel like they do it in with not ill intention, but they don't do it for the right reason. They just put their kid into sports because they want to get him out of the house. They're not actually
I
trying to
mean,
get him to find passion about anything. You know, like, maybe the kid will play soccer for a spring and absolutely hate it. Okay, they don't play soccer anymore. But like, playing two or three sports, I think, is one of the best things just to develop, yeah, athleticism, of course, but not even that. It's just like understand your body. You know, like, what you got to be able to teach yourself to do something different. Like, you can't do the same thing over and over again. You know, like, basketball teaches you a different type of athleticism than baseball does. And you know, if for us, it's like baseball's in the spring, basketball's in the winter, and there's a fall sports, falls like football, soccer, lacrosse is even in the spring. You know, stuff like that. So like a fall sport. I didn't play a fall sport in high school, but I
you
played soccer
bum,
growing up. I played hockey growing up. Yeah, I played
bum.
hockey growing up. I played baseball. I played basketball. I did all these things. Um, I loved it, but I mean, at the end of the day, I ended up obviously sticking with baseball. But I, the thing is, though, you know, the Latino guys, right? They specialize, right, in all this. But what do they do really well, for the most part? And this is like maybe a complete stretch, which is fair.
They play hard. Like
Yeah, but I'm talking about the pitchers. It's like they pitch all year round, right? They pitch all year round. But what else are they doing for the
they
most part?
throw it
It's in their culture.
ease. I don't know what you're
Dancing.
getting at. Dancing, yeah, hip movement. But they're throwing with their
It's a
body
different
instead of
movement.
they're throwing with their body, not their arm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and what they do a lot of times is not always throwing baseballs.
Right.
They're throwing
They
coconuts.
throw, yeah,
They're throwing rocks. It's different. It's more like natural to a certain extent. You know, I specifically, I remember I was at Treads. So Treads got their fair share of stories about, you know, the island, they call it, where they just think it's almost the way they talk about the island, like Dominican and Puerto Rico and stuff. It's just like there's a bunch of just they're just creatures. It's like no one knows how they got there, but they're just there, and they all are just they all just throw the ball 100 miles an hour, and it's like you just go hand pick them. It's like you go to a farm, and like, I can't explain it, dude. It's so funny. It's just like, but they're just like, dude. They literally will throw coconuts. They'll throw anything as hard as they possibly can.
for fun.
Well, yeah, for fun, but that's what gets them off the island.
Correct. It's
And then they
different.
get here, and then everything else is backwards. Yes, it's
Yeah,
backwards.
it's different.
It's different. But
Yeah, they develop like a tool. They develop a power tool. They develop a tool. Whereas in America, like you're trying to develop a five tool player, in my opinion.
yeah, exactly.
Figure it out later.
But yeah, they're
But
different
like
breeds, though.
even like the crossover in mentality too, I want to talk about for just a split second is like, to me, I didn't start on the basketball team, so I had to have a different mentality whenever I played basketball. You know,
it's like a humbleness, though.
right?
Humility.
Exactly. And as an adolescent, did I handle it well? No, but I had that in my reservoir for when things got hard in down my professional baseball journey.
Yeah,
Like, even, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good point. I never thought about it that way. Because a lot of times these players, they're not the stars in all their sports. You may have like the star that's going somewhere. Let's say for baseball or for basketball, but he may play another sport where he's just like the average person. There's nothing special about him in that sport. You know, everyone knows him because he's obviously good for that one sport that he's not playing that in season. But it's like it requires like humility to kind of accept it. It's like, all right, like this isn't my thing, you know, and accept that and just, I guess, have fun. I guess that's what you kind of surrender to, just having fun with it.
Compete. You know, like you're no longer the top. You're no longer the top dog. Like how are you going to compete? To me,
you know, it's funny.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I don't have anything.
There was this player we had in my high school. You know, was going to, you know, not a big time college for basketball, but relatively big enough for the Northeast. Went overseas afterwards, started playing over there. So he relatively good professional career, but 6'7", 6'8", big kid, shot the hell out of the ball. He wasn't a typical power forward for high school. He played like a shooting guard, small forward, which nowadays 6'7", 6'8", you are. Like, you know, it's not like you're a power forward.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he played like he was in the professionals in high school with like the way he played. He didn't like the post. He didn't like doing all that. But nonetheless, he was one of the better players in the shore, like in the conference we played in. And the championship, shore conference championship, this was my junior year. I wasn't playing. So I went to the game. My buddies were watching. And one of the teams they played was Rumson Fairhaven. And one of the players in that team was a kid who's pretty good pitcher going to Old Dominion for baseball, and you know, just playing basketball in the winter just for fun, like we're saying. And I mean, dude, he didn't have skills. He didn't shoot the ball. He didn't do anything. He was just basically what's his name? The guy from the Bulls, Dennis Rodman. That's basically all he was. He just was there to get rebounds and play defense, and that's basically all he did. And dude, he absolutely beat the shit out of this kid that was like the basketball player in the whole entire conference. And the only thing he did different is he just put his head down and just competed his ass off and made this player, I'm saying, literally want to cry. You saw it on his face. He gave up. He didn't want to be there anymore. He was the big time guy. He was the guy supposed to step up. He literally gave up because this other player, Morgan was his name, literally made his life a living hell. Only because he just competed harder than anybody on that floor. And
that's it.
They ended up winning. And like, this kid, dude, not stinks, but it's one of those things now. It's like, oh, yeah, Morgan, you played basketball in high school. It's like, yeah, I play at home. Yeah, you play basketball? It's like, yeah, I actually believe that. You know what I mean? Like, he just did it for fun.
Yeah.
And when you have the mentality, the thing is though, when you have the mentality of like a competitor, it gets you far. It gets you a long way. And the saying goes, we can say this because we're baseball players. A lot of people think it's bullshit, but you get a lot of other athletes. You get a lot of other athletes to play baseball. They look like absolute fools. They can't compete because it requires too much skill. Baseball is too niche of a skill set to be able just to go and just compete. You know, best players in the world, best basketball players, best this and that. Like, you put them in front of a hitting machine with a bat, like, they're gonna look like absolute idiots. But you get a baseball player in another sport, they're gonna compete. You know, and I find that to be true. I really do, and that's an example.
Except in hockey, because I would look like a fool if Connor McDavid was coming at me.
Well, yeah.
I'd be laying on my back. I would be laying on my back before Connor McDavid got the puck.
Okay, but if you had the skill set of skating, you'd be able to hold your own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know,
Sure.
imagine like hockey on like running around instead of skates, like, because that's what it is at that point. It's like skating is definitely a hurdle, but if you have the skill of skating, then the sport of hockey itself, you know, it becomes a little less daunting because then it's just like, it's basically field hockey to a certain extent. It's not, but it is. There's less involved. But baseball, like, say you could throw something, you can throw something well. It's like, well, it doesn't guarantee you can pitch at all, actually. And say you can hit a golf ball fairly well. Well, it doesn't guarantee anything you can swing a baseball bat. Similar, but not really.
Yeah,
But
I'm with you.
it's
We're in
it's different.
agreement. We're in agreement. I was just being funny
Yeah.
with my hockey reference. That's all.
Well, hockey's crazy. Hockey's
Yeah,
I love playing hockey, dude. That's one of the sports I wish I could just go play pickup and just have fun with. But it's always like a battle to go play pickup hockey. You got to get the gear, the equipment. You got to get the ice rink time. You got to get a group of guys. Like you don't have to play too many. You can have like 5 of you, 4 of you, of course. But like it's just a commitment. Go play street hockey is different, but ice hockey you got to the rink time and how expensive that is, dude. Rink time nowadays is like fucking. Oh my god, it's expensive.
I
It's
believe it.
insane. It's insane. Um, but yeah, that's that.
I'm a big believer in
Device is not
crossover.
registered.
Your device is not registered.
She just listens and she just starts talking randomly. Yeah, no, cross training, especially like yeah, it's a big thing. I even know buddies that like in the off seasons like they would go like do boxing, like something just really
Dude.
different.
That's something I kind of wanted to get into. I haven't yet, but I might.
Me too.
As like
Me
a
too.
form of
My-
martial arts or something. Yeah.
My sister's boyfriend started doing jujitsu. I low key want to get into it, but
That's what Craig
I
used
have
to.
this-
Craig used to do that, and he's like, "Dude,
Yes,
you gotta do it. You
yes.
gotta do it." He loved it.
Yes.
I'm like, I
Yeah, he
mean,
did.
you make me want to do it for sure.
yeah, and I'll surrender to it. I more so admit to rather than surrender. Like I don't like doing something I know I'm not good at, and then it's just like, well, the caveat to that is like, well, are you going to be good at everything from the beginning? No. So I have this thing of just like I don't want to go there and look like an absolute fool. But one thing is probably going to be good for me if I do that, humble myself a little bit, like we were just saying. But that's been one of the things that's been holding me back, like just from going to do it on my own. You know what I mean? Like not wanting a buddy or not like, and not needing a buddy to come with me, like something
Well,
like
we
that.
can do it. I'll hold your hand.
Embarrassed.
No, for real. But I think you'd be surprised at how good you are, and just because all of the body
Yeah.
stuff we went through, like how much farther advanced you are in anything physically than most people, even if they are 10 times
Yeah.
stronger than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's my fear, is getting dominated too. And it's just like, well, who's gonna dominate me? Not mentally.
yeah.
They might physically kill me, but it's okay.
One thing that always kind of really fascinated me about that whole sport, right, is like it goes kind of to that alpha dog perspective, right? And it's like, is it a stupid thought perspective? Yeah. Is it realistic? Probably, but it's still like pretty dumb. But the idea is like you walk into a room and you can beat the shit out of anyone in that room. If all hell broke loose, you can defend yourself and the people you love. That's been one of the things that really strikes me about that. You're dangerous.
Yeah.
And being dangerous is a step above being useless. Because then if you're dangerous, even though there's a bad reputation, let's say, around being dangerous, if you're dangerous and you learn how to hone in what you've learned, the thing that makes you dangerous, well, then you become civilized. But you always have that danger to you. And that's useful. Someone who's useless, they don't have, what do they bring to the table? So like the Navy SEAL, for example, the person who could beat the shit out of anyone, but they're civilized. You wouldn't know unless something snapped into them. And like the idea, I think it's so, I'm just gonna say it, cool. I think it's so cool that a professional boxer has to have their hands insured because they're legal weapons. I think that's so badass that if you punch somebody, you can get arrested as if you stabbed them.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool.
Legally, it's the same thing. That's how dangerous you are, and that's something that really, really impresses me, And Tally's going away party in Florida about a few months back. One of her friends, her husband, she's older, Her husband's in mid-40s, and he used to be he was almost going to be in the UFC. He was one fight away from the UFC. Broke his wrist, and I don't know what transpired afterwards, but he was one fight away from the UFC. And dude, he got his black belt for jiu-jitsu. He's from Brazil, all that. At 15 years old, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. 15. So now he's 45. So he's about, I want to say, he said he was a 25-year black belt. So I would say he's lower. He's a little younger than 45, but he's a 25-year black belt. And he's like 5'7", small guy. Like, he's the typical UFC guy you'd think of. You know what I mean? Like, just the way they look. And I looked at him, right? And I'm 6'5", and I'm looking at him. I'm just like, he can beat the shit out of me.
Because you have no idea what to do.
Act. That, yeah,
but
exactly.
Because you have no idea what to do.
Yeah, but even if I get to be like a blue belt, he's still going to beat the shit out of me.
Right.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's just, it's a weapon, and it intrigues me. It intrigues me. But I want to be able to learn. I'll use my hands too. I mean, obviously in jiu-jitsu you don't, but UFC obviously it's cross training. But martial arts, all that stuff, I've always been intrigued by. I've never been able to do it with like training and stuff like that. Baseball, like, when have we ever fought? But I've never been in a fight in my life. I've never been.
You've never had a bench clearing brawl?
Well, yeah, we've all had them, but I'm one of those people. Like, I'm not the person who's running up front. Like,
yeah,
I
know. Like I'm just giving you props.
There's a select few of guys in the team are waiting for it at all moments. Like, they're itching for it.
Right.
But that was never me.
I was always one of the last ones there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've never been in a fight. I have a way with my words that I'd rather just make you feel like absolute shit about yourself, because I think that's longer lasting anyways. But
you're a psychological warfare guy. Got it.
If push comes to shove, I want to be able to be in a position to where I can protect myself and my people that I love. And granted, can I do that now? I'm probably capable of things now that I don't even realize. It's just like, when the things happen, it'll just happen. I'll just figure out how to protect myself. I don't assume that I'm useless, but I don't consider myself dangerous. And that's different. So I want to teach myself how to be dangerous. Civilized, but always dangerous. And
hoorah!
I think we can definitely partake.
A great Memorial Day talk. we can bring that shit back to the apartment. See how much shit we can ruin.
I have a little spot right here. I'd say it's about a 4x4 square that we can get after.
Wrestle on.
Yeah.
Work on our pens.
Yeah.
I see that. I can see that happening now.
Yeah. Tally would love that. Tally would absolutely love it.
I'm sure she would.
Love it. What do you got going on the rest of the day? Anything going on with your family?
I don't know. Just figuring out this whole stuff. But no, not really right now. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind swinging the golf club. I really want to master the swing. I want a 5 to 10 yard left to right draw that I can control on every shot. Once I figure that out, it's gonna be tough to get me off the course.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say you have a better shot at perfecting your swing rather than seeing Jesus. But, I would say not much of a higher probability.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate the confidence that you have in my ability to get good at things.
No. It is not.
I love it.
It is not a lack of confidence in your ability.
At least I'm not afraid to try new things. At least I don't need you to hold my hand in the golf.
You're right. Well. Taking on a new challenge and perfecting it are two completely different tasks. You're not gonna perfect the swing.
I mean, I can do it like I do my baseball.
100%. No, I was more so kidding around.
And to me, it's just the process, right? The mental process, and that's where
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I heard it the other day. You might have said it too. Is like we learn so much about ourselves when you take yourself to the elite level of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now you're working on things that are just, I don't want to say so far fetched, but they're so minute. So it's just like that process. I have to work on this and work on this and work on this. Like now I'm starting over at something I'm not necessarily good at, and I feel like I can make adjustments so fast in comparison to what I used to be able to. So now it's just like, how do I start with, I want to have the best swing off the rip so I don't have to make adjustments. So how do I start?
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of like, let's start with perfect and practice perfect. Perfect is in air quotes, okay? But what is the best version of my swing look like, and how do I build into that? How do I repeat it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So right, like I know I just want that. I want a draw shape so I can control it down the fairway. Because I'm no longer about trying to swing hard. I just want to control the golf ball.
Well, that's a good place to start.
It's a better stepping stone than going up there and being in a long drive competition.
Yeah, well, go play around. You're the youngest guy, 29. Imagine go play around with 7 60-year-olds and see who wins. You're going to come in last.
You're right.
Not because of ability. Well, yes, because of ability, but not because you're any less strong.
I'm hitting the ball 20 yards farther than they are. Yeah,
maybe more. But they're going to they'll put it 180 yards, 200 yards on the fairway.
And then on the green and two putt.
If it's a par 4, they'll hit their driver, right? 180, 200 yards right into the fairway. And then they'll get their hybrid or their fairway wood, depending on how far it is. And they'll put it up. If it's not on the green, it'll be right in front of it. Then they'll get their little pitching wedge, or they'll get their 60 degree or 56, and they'll just flop it onto the green. And they got a putt. That's what they'll do every time. It's almost boring. Just like,
well, you got to make golf boring. You got to make everything boring in order to be good at it.
Essentially, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It's a good way to look at it.
And not get caught.
If I'm playing, I'm looking at them on the fairway, and I'm trying to say, okay, well, if I get my 7 and I hold it this way, can I bend it around this tree? And if I do that, then maybe I can bend it around. Maybe it'll reach the bunker, but if it gets in, okay, fuck. You got to bump it onto the fairway. You know what I mean? That's how I was always playing. But you ever see the video? Last thing, you ever see the video of that guy? He goes and plays a full round with just a pitching wedge.
No.
And dude, he shoots like high 80s with just a pitching wedge. I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? So, he gets
130 yards at a time, or what?
Dude, he just plays a 7 iron the entire time. Putts with it, everything. He shoots like in the 80s. These guys are good, obviously, but it's like there's a way in playing that is more important, arguably, than like the swing and like the whole physicality behind it. It's understanding like the smart way to play, you know, and you know,
do you want to get good at? You want to get good at golf? We can do golf on Saturday and MMA on Sunday.
Dude, getting good at golf just sounds expensive to me, you know?
Getting good at anything is expensive.
Yeah, but I'd rather expense my time and effort rather than having to actually pay just to be able to give my time and effort.
I mean, it's $30 for 4 hours.
Yeah, by you. Come here, it's 75.
We'll find a deal.
Yeah. Hey, listen. We'll give you an advertisement on our podcast.
Let's do it. If we show up and if I show up enough, I bet I can catch a deal.
Yeah. Monetize what we're doing, huh? And Reggie's.
I mean, Literally, we need to monetize everything that we're doing. Yeah, we only need paid subscribers from here on out.
Well, technically, we do. They're all paid. I mean, I don't know if all Spotify's paid. Technically, you don't have to be paying to be on Spotify, but technically, everyone's paid. It's not to us.
Yeah. We're on our way. But
Oh man. Alrighty. I got some bread to make. I'm making pasta later on. I got like homemade pasta.
oh my
Meal prep
goodness,
into the day. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Go get some
A-
when you get up
a-
here. We'll do it.
A pleasure as always, sir.
Always. I will I'll talk to you soon. Let me know if you need anything this week. You got a big week coming up. So
Yeah, I gotta call him and get all that information in. Figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Hope studying's going well too, by the way.
We're working on it.
I'm sure.
I need to do better, but don't we all?
Hey, we all. Don't we all? But alrighty. I'll talk to you.
See you.
Peace.